You like me because I'm a scoundrel. There aren't enough scoundrels in your life. Welcome back, everybody. How is everybody doing? We're here for part 4 of issue 93. Just going to keep going until we figure we get it right. So, I'm going to need to mix a couple colors, I think, because we're trying to get the last little bit of paint that we missed on, well, technically on here, but we're going to give her a quick trial run on here. It's going to not quite be the same due to the fact that uh, this paint's slightly different, but it'll give us a pretty good idea if we're close enough to call it good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix, I have some light sea gray, which is kind of a brownish color. And this is the color here. It's called light gray that ends up being very similar to the insignia white, which is what these are all painted with. So it's very close to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix them up and try to get the right color. The color that I'm going for, let me bring up a picture right here while I'm mixing. And you can see that there's this really light kind of grayish band that goes across here. So what I want to do is just do a little paint testing here. So I'm going to first just test just the straight sea gray and see how that comes out. And it might be the right color, but I feel like that's maybe a touch too dark. So in order to kind of adjust it, we're going to mix in some of this light gray and see how it goes. And when Model Master says light gray, they aren't kidding. This stuff is nearly white. And so for contrast, let me do this. I'll show you just for a little contrast. We'll just kind of, now we'll see what that looks like after it dries, but as you can see, it's very close to the color that's on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix just a little bit of this into this gray. I just want to lighten it up just a hint. All right, let's see how this comes out. I actually like that. Now the trick is, can I get that mixed the same way when I go to paint it on? Proof that I can do it. Now the question is, can I do it when it matters? So we're going to let that dry so we can see how it looks. And while that's drying, all right, I'll go get the stuff to mix this up. And when I feel good about it, I'll go get it painted. Be right back. Welcome back. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a little bit of, so I have 2 red browns. I did not know I had 2 red browns. What's this one? Flat Earth. That's an interesting color. Maybe we'll do Flat Earth. So what I'm looking to do is I want to make a kind of a darker brown, and I'm trying to, I want a darker brown, but I want it to be dark because a black is in it, not because I'm using a darker brown. So I do have some darker browns. You know, I've used this one before. This is mud. So I have mud, and then obviously I have the red brown, or what have you. But I'm going to try, I want to have something that is, you can tell it's kind of a brownish. So maybe, and I'll show you here in a minute what this is for. Put plenty down there. I don't know how well this is going to work. That's why we're trying it. And this is just simply flat black. I'm just going to go just that much for now. Let's see how that comes out. The black really overpowers it, doesn't it? But I kind of like it. See, it's more of a brownish black than it is a blackish brown, right? So I kind of like that color. So where this is going to go is all along here. Mostly along the edges, and I'll use the airbrush to do this, and it'll kind of bleed over the edges here and kind of go everywhere. And then you couldn't see what I was doing. Yeah, so it's going to go into here. Oops, wrong one. Just kidding. So it'll go into there, and then I'll come back with some black and just kind of do a little circle in the middle there and a really small one there. What I've done already on this one, so I've taken the black marker and dipped it down inside there, because I'm not going to be able to really get the airbrush to get the black down there, so I'm just going to kind of a little bit with the brown, just kind of make it, basically what I'm trying to do is make it look like scorch marks, is really about the only thing I'm trying to accomplish here. So I think that's going to work. Let's go ahead and, so I think I'm going to go with a 4-to-1 ratio, maybe. So for 4 drops of the brown, we'll do 1 drop of black. So basically we're doing a 2-to-1 ratio here. Okay, you guys ready? I'm not super proud of it, but I like it. It's all right. So on the screen, it looks a lot more kind of brownish than it does in real life. So the first color that I mixed up, that came out Like I can make it really, really dark. And so I needed to kind of lighten it up a little bit. And so I came back with just that those light brown, and just kind of touched up some of the edges and stuff just to kind of lighten it up. And so we kind of got like little scorch marks, like it, got hit and kind of burned a little bit or something, what have you, and a couple scorch marks coming off a couple different directions. So there you go. It looks kind of pinkish on the screen, but in real life, I assure you, it's brown. Does that look pink? No. Okay. So now the question is, what do we do next? Let's have a look. Let me review, see what else we need to do, if there's any major colors. If not, we will get into some of the finer details. Okay, one of the things we do have are a couple of the circles and different scorch marks and stuff, so we're going to try to get some of those put on. So right up here, on this side, yeah, so right up here on this side, we have a scorch mark right here. And so basically, I'm going to need to kind of somewhat map this out a little bit. Let me grab the other one. Well, let's just try this. I just want to see how well, if I can mark this with the pencil and be able to tell where I'm at. You can kind of see that little lead mark right there. So I'm going to mark out where these scorch marks are that I need to put in. All right. So now, this is the part I'm going to struggle with, because trying to make just these little bitty dots and kind of smears, you have to have very steady hands for that. But I think I'm going to go with probably the smoke or the black. I think the black actually comes out more black, and I think that's what I'm going to go with for this. Just because I want it to be kind of transparent, everything except for this actual dot that's back here on the bottom. This one that's an actual round dot, I'll come in with a gray, probably this gray, or yeah, maybe this gray. Probably this one. Yeah. It's going to be right there. And then we have got a black line. You guys can't see what I'm doing. So it's going to be right there, and then we're going to have a black line right there. And we'll take care of that later. Let's go ahead and get this ready to go so we can try some dots. Okay, so here we go. There's our little dots, little bitty blaster spots. There's our little kind of scorch there until it's kind of heavier on one side and kind of fades back a little bit. Wish I had more control over my airbrush. I could do that a little bit better, but it's not too bad. And then here's the little circle. So the goal was not to have a perfect circle, to have it be round but kind of faded on the edges, and I think I did that. And then I took some of this stuff and I kind of went around the edges because it's a pretty brownish color. I probably could have done this whole thing with that, but and then what I need to do is specifically for like this one. This one we need to take our marker. We're going to put a black spot right in the middle there. And then same thing with this one here. A black spot in the middle of that one. And like this one here. Yeah. All right, so those are all the blaster marks. Let's see what else we need to get done. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So, the only thing I'm going to do this time, I only had 2 tubes of yellow ochre. Apparently did not remember that I bought a second one. This is what I'm looking for. So this time I'm going to put on some rust. And that's going to be the last little bit that I'm going to do for this this episode. And then next time we will start putting on a lot of the other crisscrosses, and there's a lot to put on here, so that's why I'm saving that for next time. So let me show you a picture here of where this rust is. When there's only the 2 spots, essentially. So there's the spot around this that we'll be putting on, and then there's a little spot over here. So what I'm going to do is mask around here, because that's what it looks like they did. So I'm just going to mask around where I need to put it, and that will make my life easier. So the only problem with this yellow tape is that I love the line that it gives me, but the problem with it is, particularly when I'm spraying the rust, is I can't see it. And so, yeah, it makes it really difficult. Okay, so I've got, gonna have to do something here. I can't use that. Gonna have to use some smaller tape, probably a couple passes at it, because it didn't cover up the one little spot that I have to do. But what I'm worried about is, so the spot of rust that goes over here, where the tape was, I didn't want it to affect maybe how the little rust splotch would be. Like, I didn't want it to get squared off and you could tell that it was masked there or anything. So I'll just have to kind of adjust fire. Alright, so that should be masked off well enough for what I need to do. However, I'm going to just, this is kind of a semi-anal thing, but I need to be able to see what I'm doing here. So it's kind of interesting. So I was having a conversation with one of my oldest and dearest friends, and you know who you are. And it kind of made me somewhat chuckle a little bit, because from day one, so many people have told me that they feel like I've got just extra load or patience to spare type of thing. Let's have a lot of patience to be able to do all this stuff. And he and I were conversing essentially, and he was saying that um, he would never be able to do this because he would have a hard time knowing when something was good enough, and basically saying, yep, that was good enough or whatever. Because there's been many times I'm like, it's the Falcon, it's good enough. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. And he would have a hard time with it because of the fact that it would be difficult to make it absolutely perfect. And I found it kind of humorous because it's taken me a long time to get to this point where, particularly with this, one of the reasons why I waited 2 years before I even started it was because of the fact that I had to kind of get myself in the mindset that I'm not going to be able to make it perfect, and therefore I shouldn't even try to make it perfect. I just need to be able to accept that what is good enough. And I've talked about this in some of my earlier videos, I think, where basically, um, I read model railroading magazines, and there's a huge concept of good enough, right? And we're talking about not necessarily when you're modeling a specific train car or locomotive or something like that, but the entire model layout as a whole. Being able to say that it's good enough, and that like you could continue adding details and perfecting it forever. Um, but unless that's something that is your driving part of doing the hobby and you don't really care about running the trains or doing any of that kind of stuff, then hey, so be it. But most people at least want to be able to run the trains and stuff, so you have to know when to stop and say that's good enough. I can at least use it, type of thing. So that's kind of where I'm at now with the Falcon. Also, the fact that I've spent hours and hours researching and examining pictures and all that kind of stuff of the studio model, and like something as simple as there's a spot, and I can't remember exactly where it's at, like maybe right here or something. No, not right there. There's a spot somewhere on this, a couple spots I think actually within this area, maybe even including the nose cone, where the modelers actually wrote their name on it. So if I really wanted to go all out, I would have to put their name on there, and that would be kind of obnoxious. So I just kind of had to accept the fact that, yeah, I'm not going to get that far and kind of move on. So, all right, we're ready to go add some rust. We're going to add this orange rust from Vallejo. I've used this before. I really like it. I think it's going to match the rust that's on there. And if you recall from the image that I shared, one of the reasons why I'm putting the rust on now is because there are some of these lines that are going to go over the top of the rust. So I just need to make sure that I get that rust on there now as opposed to doing it later. And since we're going to do all the lines and stuff next time, I'm going to get the rest on now. So let's go get this painted, and I'll bring it back and you can see it when I get done. All right, let's get the tape off here, see how it came out. I went a little heavier than what was actually, I guess you could say, called for, but I unfortunately am like not right next to the PC where I can see the images, so I have to go completely by memory, and sometimes my memory doesn't do me the most love. So, but I'm okay with that. It kind of goes back to our previous conversation, right? What's good enough, and I'm okay with going a little heavier. I even added some that I can't verify was there, but I added a little patch down here. And if I wanted to, I could probably even maybe go, I mean, this has got a little bit darker because I went a little heavier there, but I could, even add if I wanted to. So last time I said this was mud. This is actually a rust. And so I could even like just come in with just a touch of this rust in there, just to kind of, a lot of times you'll see that with rust, you'll see kind of these patches where it's kind of rusting around it, and then you'll have like darker patches or whatever. Anybody who's seen a rusty vehicle would know that. But I don't think it's necessary. I think this is a pretty good representation of what it needs to look like, and that's pretty much what this is just a representation. It's my version of the Falcon. So there we go. That is the rust. And so just to kind of add a little clarity to my previous little comment, I'm not saying that anybody that doesn't have the same level of patience that I have, or that um, or that maybe it would be less detailed, or anybody that's more detailed is right or wrong. This is just what is working for me, and in the end, as long as I can make something that I'm happy with the results and proud to display it, then that's all that matters for me anyway. So there we go. That is everything we've done this time. So we've got some of the details in there. We've got some rust, and yeah, so there we go. All right. That's everything for this episode. We will see you guys in the next episode. And may the force be with you always.